pretty good. I'm working on a Jeep, and then coming to do a podcast.
I'm glad I got it out.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, just putting it back on is half the time.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about it on the podcast unless you want to, but I've been miserable doing this fucking thing.
What?
The podcast.
What do you mean being miserable?
I don't, and I'm struggling to do it. Not to shoot it. I mean, this ain't no problem. I mean, I always get anxiety when I think about doing the podcast, but it's like the promoting it, putting it out, it's been hard. It's been exhausting.
You want to explain that?
Yeah, I'm fucking lazy.
I mean, there's been a lot going on.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to talk about it because I sound like I'm bitching and moaning every time. But whatever.
Maybe you just need to talk about it.
Well, not on here. I don't want to sound like a bitch.
It ain't.
I'd say we're rolling.
We are?
Yeah. He hits record early on.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Episode 10, Freddy Camacho.
Back again.
Back again. I'm not surprised you came back. But I didn't know if you ever would. I didn't know if you actually enjoyed it.
I told you last time I did.
I know, but shit, I didn't know if you was bullshitting me.
I liked it.
Yeah. It's harder. I was talking about it, me and Eric, my last guest. I think I did not realize how difficult it would be to... So I see these other podcasters, and I know what they're doing. Well, I don't really watch too many podcasts. Joe Rogan. And then there's a couple that I kind of went and looked at for reference so I could see what it is, how a podcast runs, yada, yada. And they're all very formal. This is episode so-and-so and so. And I'm not making fun of anybody. I sounded like a dick. But it was very strategic. And I was like, well, that's not really me. I'm just going to do what I want to do. But I noticed, I think they have an advantage by doing these interviews because somebody's coming on to promote something. The big podcast, they're promoting somebody's got a book or a movie or something like that. So, they just sit there and ask questions. And that's not me. I'm not the type to sit and ask questions. And so, okay, I thought my podcast could literally just be good conversations. And we were talking about it. Good conversations happen organically. You're sitting there with your buddies, you're drinking a beer or not, you're at a restaurant, you're just riding down the road. You didn't plan on it. It just happened. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So planning a conversation, which I don't do, I don't know. It's weird thinking about what I'm going to say to somebody. And I don't, but still, it still pops in my head. Like, what are we going to talk about? Does that make sense? It's hard.
Yeah, I see it because on our trip to Windrock,
organic.
It's just started.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It didn't just start. It was 2 hours in a vehicle. And something got said. Like one trigger word, right? A concept. Yeah. Somebody said something. And we were like, oh, somebody comments on that. And before you know it, you are in
a deep conversation.
Yeah. So that's why this is more difficult. So how do we fix it? I don't know if it needs to be fixed because every conversation I've had so far has been amazing. But there's always that beginning that's tough. Do you have any anxiety?
No.
None. So I guess I'm just an anxious person.
I feel perfectly fine. I mean, all you're doing is talking.
I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous. Well, I suffer from that form of anxiety, which I call it. It's more of an anticipation. I've always had it, so it's just part of it. It goes away. It only takes a few minutes. I mean, I'm fine. Do I look fucking nervous? No, I'm not nervous. But I'm just trying to say it's hard to think about. I need to probably cut all this out because it's probably boring as shit. But I've realized why this podcast is harder than I expected it to be because I expected to just come in and have good conversations. But you can't expect those things, right? Sometimes they take hours just to get going.
Well, if it's random thoughts.
Yeah, it's true to its word, isn't it?
Just let it be.
Well, that's what we're doing. And I'm going to stick with it because who knows what nugget of beauty and gold and like the next great thing may come from this because we didn't what creativity is born in, do you know?
No.
Spontaneity. That's the secret. That's the magic dust. So if you're all structured and planned, right? And that's why I don't have itineraries, because my best trips were always the ones where I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew where I was going for the most part. This is where we're going to go, but I never wanted to put down a list. This is what we're going to do this hour, that hour.
I don't like that either.
No, best plan since I was a kid. Was that when I was old enough to get my ass to town? That's what we call it, going to town. Obviously, I lived in the country.
I mean, I don't mind having one or two things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Like I said, we're going on vacation. I don't mind having one or two things that we have to do, or we got to go to this dinner and all that. But the rest of the time.
Yeah. Best plan is no plan.
Yep.
That's what I used to say. Every time we're going to town, what are we going to do now? I don't know. Best plan is no plan. So I'm going to stay true to that. That's what this podcast has been so far. And I guess I was just venting there a little bit, saying it hasn't been as easy as I expected. A lot of anxiety came with it.
Hard work always pays.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if there's much hard work in this. We're just bullshitting.
It is if you're having to think about it.
I don't think about it. I block those thoughts. But the anxiety, the anticipation, it still kind of gets my belly.
So it is hard work.
I mean, it ain't nothing. It's just, it's so funny because, I kept thinking, well, someday it'll go away, It ain't butterflies. It's weird. I kind of want to change the fucking subject because we're stuck.
We're not stuck.
We're stuck.
How are we stuck?
I can't get out of this conversation.
Maybe this is what we talk about.
Is it? You asked me to talk about it.
It is called Random Thoughts.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, here's the thing. Every podcast I've seen, every podcast you've done is you.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like maybe the chairs had switched around tonight. Maybe you're the guest tonight.
I'd like that. Ask me some questions.
Yeah. So, all right, if that's the question, then how you control that? How you deal with that? Because you can't be the only person that deals with that.
No, everybody does. I mean, no, let me tell you. That's why I asked you if you was anxious or nervous or anything. You wasn't. But let me tell you, it's hard. Everybody feels it, and then you're 15 minutes in, and the next thing you know, you're in some amazing conversation, and that's what happens every time. And we forget that we were ever nervous. Because people come over here, every one of them suffer from the same thing. What are we going to talk about? Well, what if we talk about this? Oh, and you try to role play this thing. Everybody does it. I mean, it'd be crazy to think that we don't talk to ourselves in our own head, but we don't get very far. I was actually thinking about it on the way back here. I need to start writing, but I'm not a writer. Like all these questions I have in life, all these things that I'm trying to figure out, they're in my head, and it's really difficult to process information stuck in your head. You got to get it out. So there's two ways to really learn, and that's to write. That's what essays are for, or speak. That's what lectures are for. People think of lectures as a place to learn, but
I'm an essay.
You like to write essay? ASA. Well, that's the purpose of those two things. And when I discovered that people that gave lectures, they're actually up there refining their own ideas. They're discovering their own thought. Like they're trying to get shit out. So that's about the only two ways, from what I've learned, that you can really expand the ideas that you've been working on. So talk about it or write about it. I don't like to write because I couldn't read my own handwriting when I was done. Can't type for shit. Sure as shit can't spell. Thank God for Siri. I do voice texting.
Maybe she can write the whole thing.
Probably. Actually, I can talk about this, and this can all be transcribed one day if I ever wanted to.
There you go.
I don't see any reason to do it. But just bullshitting with people is where I really learn the most, is what I'm saying. That's why I like doing this.
I think it's nice. I mean, I know coming in here tonight, we mentioned a lot of things we want to talk about. But now that we're here, things that...
I don't even know if we... Did we? You said a lot, but I don't think we... It was all one thing to me. Everything...
Well, we talk of different... Might have been one thing, but it was a lot of different little things to make that big thing.
Yeah. Well, everything maybe needs to start off with a question. No one ever comes in here with a question. That would make my life easier.
Question to anything?
Anything. That's a question. Let's see where it can go.
All right. Where did the dinosaurs go?
Fuck, man. Underground. Buried upon miles of dirt. I can't answer that question. You know why? I have a thing that I'm really good at. Somebody texted me something today, and I thought, and it was politically related, I guess you could say. And I just thought, I'm really good at not worrying about things that I can't really understand or have an effect on. Honestly, if I can't wrap my head around it, I don't waste any time on it. I just move on. I focus on the things that I can make sense of, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's why I've never invested any effort in the dinosaurs, because I think eventually we're all going to end up just like them. So I think I understand how precious life is now. You know, all these things that I wonder and think about, it's taught me the value of life, and it's got me to the point that I don't worry about anything that I can't change right now. I ain't worried about shit. I ain't worried about next week. I ain't worried about yesterday. I'm worried about right now. That's what I can worry about. And because I've got to a point in my life that I truly, for me, feel like I have a good understanding of the value of life and how precious it is, and how lucky we are to even exist as a species. You know, and then not only be that species, but then to have evolved to a point that we can have this conversation. Like the numbers just don't make sense. You know, it's where you turn back to religion. That's why so many scientists, I think, depend on religion, because nothing else makes sense. And I don't think of it as religion. I think of it as a higher power, and man made all the religions. But it kind of makes sense to me. But anyways, what I was trying to say is I've just got to a point that I just love life, and I love living. And I was talking to my mom today. We went to lunch, and I was like, man, I think I'm at that point that if I had to give up my life for the greater good, I would feel pretty good about doing it. It's like I'm not ready to die, but I'm okay with it if it's something that happens. If you told me, Nathan, you only got a week left, I'd be like, shit, who do I need to call? Like, I wouldn't be freaked out over it, I don't think. I could be wrong, but, everybody thinks about death, and it used to kind of freak me out. I used to kind of be scared of it, but not anymore. I'm kind of content. I feel like I've done my job with my kids. They're going to be fine from this point forward. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Same thing here. I actually was thinking about that today on the way to work. I'm content and happy where I'm at. Yeah. I guess we all reached, I don't know if we all do reach that point where you finally just content with life and happy. And nothing has happened to me that to make me think that. Was just like the light came on one day. It's like, I'm very happy I'm very blessed. I'm happy the way I'm living, what I have. Like, I don't want no more, no less. It's like I'm finally found a happy spot for me. Like, I don't have to go and try to find something to make me happy.
And it may come and go.
It could be.
So I don't know. And I'm wondering, the only thing that I'm unhappy about, so I had this desire to travel the world. Well, how do you do that? It ain't fucking free. So, you got to hustle. And so I've made a lot of life choices that could set me up to do that, to travel as much as I want and still make money. That's hard. Right? And that's
very hard.
That'd be the dream. And all the choices I've made have kind of aligned. My opportunities in life are really aligned with more traveling. The problem is that some of the opportunities that I've created for myself or took advantage of that were available at the time have put a tremendous amount of stress on me. And a lot of the stuff I'm doing is not fun at all. And I'm not good at doing shit that I don't find fun, especially when there's not somebody there to make me do it. Being self-employed is very miserable, but it's also very rewarding. Like, the reward is insane. But I always say, you got to minimize that. If the reward is really high, then the flip side of that, something I've been thinking a lot about lately, the flip side. No matter what you change in your life, there's always going to be a counter to that. Whatever positive you have, there's always a negative. And the negative for me is just the anxiety that I feel from work that needs to get done. A lot of responsibility on things that I don't want to do. And I'm thinking, golly, man, I think I've made some bad choices, Maybe traveling the world full time or as much full time. Maybe that's not the secret. Maybe because, I'm just not built to do things that I don't want to do. And some people can. It blows my mind how somebody can just grind it out. And I've done it for so long. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm just burnt out. The point is that I'm in one of those ruts right now where I'm not as happy. I'm happy. I'm just stressed. But it's a cycle that I always go through. I spend very little time in my life stressed. Most of it's very happy. I always draw. My life looks like this. Up here, happy. And then when I come down, because I just came down off some really crazy highs, I'm going to spend a little time down here reflecting on, am I sure that's the right path? Do I really need to travel that much? Or as grandchildren in my future, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think I use these opportunities of being...
Is that you giving that hand to your son?
No, we were talking about that. And I had never imagined having grandkids. And then it hit me, though, and I thought, that's not a bad idea. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to it if it happened. I'm not trying to encourage him to do that. I want him to go live his life. But I take these moments where I'm unhappy, because that would be the opposite of happy, and reflect on the choices that I've made that got me here and say, okay, maybe I need to reevaluate. And I think that's what the point of these unhappy times in our lives is for. I see it as order and chaos. And chaos is up here in the happiness. You don't know what's happening. Life is, any possibility is out there. Life is infinite possibilities. That's seen as chaos on the yin yang symbol, the painting I got back there. I refer to it all the time. But that's possibilities. That's where you learn. And then the opposite side of that is order, which I kind of see it as the unhappy part. Like, nothing's really stimulating me. Nothing, no synapses are firing, and I'm not excited. And I think that's just as every bit as important as the happy stuff, because you got to come down here and think about the choices you've made. And am I sure I'm on the right trajectory? Did I make all the right choices? So it's a time to recalibrate. That's where I'm at. I'm in a recalibration mode. And I got to weigh things out.
And how long you think you're going to be in that calibration?
Oh, it don't last long. It doesn't last long. It doesn't last long at all. This week, a lot could change this week. I've got some things that I'm working on. I've got to work some things out. And if it goes the right way, shit, I'm right back on top for a few months maybe. I feel good for a few months. Anything's possible. I take on more than I should. Oh, yeah, I can do that. I can do that too. Fuck yeah, let's make that. Let's shoot that music video. I get really excited. And all the energy in the world to go accomplish things is in that chaos. And then my body and life says, whoa, calm down. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Reflect. And it's like that cortisol in our bodies. That's what's being released, is high levels of cortisol. And that's that stress hormone that I talk about a lot. I know I've probably talked to you about it, but that's what's happening to me right now. My body is saying, hey, dumbass, chill the fuck out. You're no superhero. And you need to rethink some of these choices you're making. And that's the beautiful part of it. It's not me bitching. It's me saying, well, I don't want people to think that my life is perfect. And I don't know if anybody does, but some people think that I have a really good life. And I would agree. I do. I love it. But I want people to know that it's not just all sunshine and rainbows, that there's these moments in life that are important that I would consider to be unhappy, not really depressed, because I think of depression as dwelling on the past. But I think of it as, mine's more anxiety. Like, are you sure you want to do that? So thinking about the future, thinking about things that need to be done, obligations that I put myself in, if any of that makes sense. So that's why I spend my moments in the lows, other than death of a family member or dog, those don't keep me down long, but
keep some people down long. Not everybody.
Well, I tell everybody, you don't get to choose how you feel. You get to choose how long you feel that way.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's one.
How we doing? He's out of focus. You leaned up.
Did I?
That's okay. Maybe I should just leave the focus live. I'm just afraid it's going to rack. You look so good. I don't really want to mess with it.
All right.
Anyways, here, we didn't even know what we was going to talk about. And here we're already in a conversation.
Yeah,
Keep going. Because I think we don't talk about the things. When people talk about being unhappy, they're usually bitching about it and whining. I think there's other ways to talk about when people.
I think we all get unhappy at some point.
Yeah, you have to. It's important. And when I say unhappy, I don't mean depressed. I mean the opposite of being
Correct. I
happy.
think and depressed is just, I feel like it's you dwelling on something for so long that it consumes all your energy.
Eckhart Tolle describes depression as the past. He said depression is dwelling on anything in the past that could never be corrected or resolved. I think we should reflect on the past and think about the good times and the memories, and even reflecting on some mistakes that you made, but not dwelling on them. Oh, I should have. What if I wouldn't have done that? Well, that's where depression comes from. And then he talks about anxiety is the future, and it's dwelling on things that have never happened, probably never going to happen. Worry. I see very little value in worrying. When I catch myself doing it, I'm getting really good at stop thinking about that, because there's no value in it. Your brain tricking you and trying to get you to focus on something that doesn't exist. So that's why I talk about
awareness, thinking some will or may not happen. So
yeah, you can kind of plan for, okay, what if the government shuts down? Well, I got a month's worth of food. You know what I mean? That's the kind of worrying that I like to focus on. Like, okay, how much ramen noodle can I get for $100, and how long could you live off of that? That's the type of worrying that I think of. You know, things that I can have an effect on if this catastrophic event happens, like a house fire. Okay, I got a fire extinguisher here. That's the kind of stuff that I like to worry about and dwell on. You know, those possible catastrophic future events. Well, okay, I can't really put a sprinkler system on my house, so I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but I'm going to have a couple fire extinguishers. I got a gun, you know. I got a gun.
So, yeah, one of the things I'm teaching my girls is not to worry about things, especially when you have no control over it.
Yeah.
You can only control the outcome of whatever that happens.
It takes a lot of practice, though.
It does. Yeah. So, my thing is, when was last time you went to sleep and you worry you were going to have oxygen next morning to wake up?
Never. I go to sleep within moments of laying my head on the pillow. Here lately, I've been waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning because I need to do this thing that I don't want to do. It's my body saying, "Hey, Dick, you made a commitment. You said you would do this, and you're running out of time." And that's my body releasing high levels of cortisol saying, you better go get this done. And the minute I get it done, instantly goes away. And I start getting hits of dopamine. Like, oh, it's the reward. Like, oh, yeah, good. See, all you had to do is do it. I'm just not really, really good. I'm really good at avoiding, because I work best when I don't have a choice. The night before the thing is due is when the creativity comes out of me. So I kind of try to balance that thing out, because I truly believe your greatest strengths are your greatest weaknesses 100% of the time. The thing that makes you charismatic is also the thing that maybe makes you unreliable, right? So it's about balancing those things out. But you just said something that made me think about it. So you're telling your daughters not to worry.
I'm teaching my daughters and my wife not to worry.
How do you teach them? You tell them not to do it.
Well, I tell them not to do it. And one of the things that brought that up is because my wife asked me, I wish I could have a little bit of your, I forgot what she called it.
Carefree?
Kind of carefree. I mean, I care about everything else. And sometimes I think it probably has to do more with my faith or the part I am in life.
Yeah,
now.
well, I think that's the value of faith. You can put it in God's hands, or
correct,
whatever your faith is.
So one of the verses that always I keep in my mind is, it says, don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has its own worries. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. Worry about today. And the thing is, for example, the water heater broke, exploded. Panic, water everywhere. I could come home and be like, all right, babe, well, we'll fix it here in a minute.
Yep.
There's no money in the bank. We barely got money in the bank, to eat. I'll be like, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
It's that simple. And that's what she can't grasp.
Yeah.
So in my head, I have done what you done, that, why, if me worrying about it, it's not going to fix it. It's not going to fix the water heater. It's not going to put more money in the bank. I learned to control I guess I could say my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let them.
Or maybe
don't let them just run.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I tell everyone. I said it earlier. You don't get to choose how you feel. No one. Happy, sad, mad, angry. You didn't make those choices to feel that way. You may have put yourself in a situation, right, that provided that. A comedy club, a baptism, a funeral, right? You put yourself in a situation to have your emotions accessed by an outer thing, or maybe music, whatever. I say you get to choose how long you feel that way by embracing it or whatever. Thoughts. I think about this a lot, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. You go back and say, don't worry. And I say it all the time. There's no value in worrying. I realize, oh, shit, there's literally no value in worrying. It's the most wasteful, time-consuming, energy-zapping, depression-creating, anxiety-generating concept, idea, whatever you want to call worrying. And worrying is problems and ideas or whatever, possibilities. I think a lot of times okay, so it's complicated. Why are you worrying is the question. Like, what is unresolved? What unresolved issue do you have in life that's generating this worry? Or are you, that still will go back to that time, I'm going to kill me a damn dog. Hey, hold on one second. Journey! Shush. What unresolved issues do you have, But a lot of it, like it could be relationship worry. That's probably the one that kills the most people, physically and figuratively. The one that kills the most people would be relationship worry.
But here comes my thing. The way I see worrying
I want to say how you turn it off.
Well, okay. So here's how I see worrying. It's a why.
Yeah.
If you go this way, what may happen?
It's a why, not the word why.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go to the right, you know what may happen. You go to the left, you know what may happen. So you always got two things, the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
So you worry because you don't know which way that, whether it's a relationship, anything, you worry because you don't know which way you're gonna go. If you go to the right, did you make the right decision? If you go to the left, did you make the right decision?
Either way, there's no value in either
way. Now, if it's totally out of your control, then what's the whole? You're just wasting emotions, feelings for nothing.
Yeah, and it literally, the type of energy we're talking about wasting can be physically the most exhausting thing ever. The brain uses up so much resources. Like it's a fucking machine. People just don't realize that. I think of the brain as like a CPU. Like it's the processor, and man, that bitch eats up a lot of energy, and it can be physically exhausting and detrimental to your health.
It is. Where I see a lot of people worry so much.
It's easy to say, though, you shouldn't worry. But what's the trick? Well, I think if it's this, you should be worried. You should be focused on why you're worried about whatever it is, right? A bill that needs to be paid or a relationship issue. It doesn't really matter. It's a very broad spectrum. But I think the trick is I don't know. So I'm not the one that chooses to worry. I don't go out and seek out these thoughts. These thoughts are presented to my consciousness, right? I guess it would be your subconscious is back there, this machine, this thing that's just cycling information, right? And it says, hey, how about this? Did you pay this bill? It's like, shit, I didn't want to think about that, right? Is she cheating? Where's she at? Where's my son? Where's my daughter? Like all these what ifs were presented to your conscious thought. And so I still worry, but what I've gotten really good at is when I realize, oh, I'm in I call it a negative feedback loop. Technically, it'd be a positive feedback loop, but positive feedback loop is, when you get a microphone right in front of a speaker and it goes, whoa, 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 reverberation. I call it a negative feedback loop because there's no value in this this idea that's cycling in your brain and you just keep feeding it. But it's when I have one moment of clarity and I'll think, why am I thinking about this? Instead of going right back and thinking about it is when I say, no, go breathe. So I've just got I either change the channel, and the way I do that is by focusing on anything else. And the hardest thing I've ever learned to do is breathe. I had, the celebrities and stars before you get on stage, I say breathe. You don't understand why that's so effective. It's effective because, number one, if you actually breathe, I'm talking about some Wim Hof breathing. Do it 30 times. All the way in, all the way out, count all 30. You'll probably lose track before you get to that 30. But the magic is, it takes so much effort because the mind can only focus on one thing at a time. Even for all you ADHD people too. No, you don't think about 4 things and 12 things. You think about one thing. You hyper-focus on it, but you may go from this thing to that thing really quickly. You can spot ideas and thoughts. So once I catch myself in that negative feedback loop, and I'm telling you, man, I've been in some serious ones that make, your heart just feel like my whole chest is caving in because I can't get this cycle. It's this cycle in my mind. And if I can get one moment of clarity to realize I'm actually doing it, then I back away and I try to breathe 30 crazy hard breaths. And within seconds, it didn't even exist. That you forget what the hell you was just thinking about. And your body just feels amazing. And so that's how I've learned. And I've never been a worrier, but a lot of things in my life have happened as an adult to where I catch myself in these moments. And man, breathing techniques was the hardest thing I've ever done. It's been the most beneficial thing to get me back on what was important and to allow me to actually process information again, because as long as I'm stuck in my negative feedback loop of worry, I can't be productive in any way. I can't focus on what needs to be done because I've got this bullshit story playing out in my head. We got these movies that play in our head. You know what I mean? They're videos. They're fake. They're created by your ego. And it's this it's amazing what our mind can generate and tell us this possibility. We can tell this whole story. And it can be very unproductive. It can be very productive if you're thinking about it in the creative sense. You're fantasizing about vacation, because the best part's dreaming about where you're going. The best part is like the idea of going there. But once you get there, you're always underwhelmed. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think that's really my secret is, and I mean, that would apply to relationships, because we always make the wrong decisions when we're desperate and we're in that negative feedback loop. Anybody that's desperate to get their mate back, right? Or they always make the wrong choice because their ego has trapped their brain, and they do these desperate things and they reach out and say, please, right? And that's very unattractive. And so it's breaking that cycle, saying, oh shit, I'm stuck. I got to get the fuck out of this. It's hard.
I mean, it's just placing your head in a circle, and you get the same outcome every time.
Yeah, you make a lot of bad choices.
But you're right. If you step back just a little bit, take a
find
deep
a
breath.
trick. Find a trick.
Everybody's different.
I say take 30 deep breaths. Try to. It's not easy.
I'll try that next time.
If you can catch yourself doing it, you catch yourself in a negative. That's why I call it a negative feedback loop. It's this loop. If I don't choose when that happens to me, but when I catch it happening, I really practice, and it takes practice, shit tons of practice, years, and I'm still trying to master this. I think that's why the idea of stoicism is so effective. I need to study it more, but I practice being stoic, and that's just being unemotional is the way I would describe it. But the way they practice, the greatest leaders of all time, Alexander the Great, they practiced this where they would kind of plan. They wake up in the morning, they think of every possible thing that could go wrong, and they try to live it. They try to put themselves in that negative feedback loop rather than it happening later in the day. So it's really, they try to think as negative as possible, consciously think as negative as possible early in the day, and it kind of emotionally and physically prepares them to go into battle in life. I've never tried that. I've never practiced that, and I'm probably just botching it. I mean, this is a very complicated idea. It's almost like a religion, really. So I probably didn't justify what stoicism is, but that's kind of the basic concept that I took from it. And it probably works great. I just never tried it. I just tried to, I tried to, when I realized I felt something, any kind of emotion, I practiced not reacting. I do my best to respond, but not react, because a reaction isn't ever really that good.
Reaction is going to create a bigger problem than what you had.
And it doesn't matter what the action was generated from, what the emotion, happy, sad, mad, angry, I say those emotions, all of them are amazing. They're what generate desire in us, and they save us and protect us, and they kind of point us in the right direction. But we need to say, hold on, let me think. And just calm down a little bit. Don't get too excited. Don't buy that car just yet. That salesman is trained to play on your emotions. That's what you're doing. You're being sold. Anytime you feel something in life, back up. Just don't make any commitments as long as I feel something. And if it takes me an hour or a month, as long as I feel something, I'm not going to make a commitment. I might make a decision, which I would call that a react. I'm making a decision to remove myself from the situation. That would be a response. Or I don't want to talk right now is a response, right? Not a reaction. A reaction is, I don't want to fucking talk. That's a reaction, right? So we want to de-escalate the emotion, not escalate it. And I think that if we can practice that, that's a high level of self-respect. That's a level of respecting yourself enough to have control over your actions, not control over your emotions. You're naive if you think you can control your emotions. I keep saying, we don't get to choose how we feel. We get to choose how long we feel that way, or how we act, or whether or not we react. And so that's what I really focus on, is like, okay, I feel like punching this motherfucker in the mouth, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to be like, whew. And so what I've learned is I feel less and less emotions. Over the years now of practicing, it's really hard to get me upset. Really, really difficult to piss me off. I still get my feelings hurt, and I still get annoyed. I mean, I'm not immune to my emotions. I'm just affected less and less. And I realized I'm getting a very high level of self-respect. I'm respecting my value enough to not give any attention to nonsense. It's like, all right, good luck. Good luck. And go on with my life, because there's no value in worrying about nonsense. Anyways, it takes practice. You'll spend the rest of your life getting good at it. And that's where I talk a lot about working on being a better version of you. That's what I'm talking about. Being less and less affected by other people's actions on you. And actually the truth is just being less and less of a slave to your own emotions. I'm not saying be emotionless. Emotions are powerful and important. But logic and emotion do not exist together. They can't take up the same space. You have to let the emotions come down, which is I feel something, and then you can have a logical conversation with yourself or someone else. What do you think about that?
My thing is to control my reaction.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, you don't get to choose how you feel. You get to choose how you act or react.
Because I guess growing up, parents, teachers told you kind of react, but as you're growing up, well,
they teach us because that's what they do.
But no,
our parents reacted.
But as growing up,
the people that we respected in life the most were the ones that were less influenced by my nonsense. Like they just looked at me like, right? They didn't get upset and angry, and you know what I mean. They were very stoic in a way. They just were very powerful with their own emotions. To be able to seemingly control your emotions is it's intimidating, because people are so emotional, and I think there's a time to show emotion, but not make conscious decisions on those emotions. It's just
I learned
practice.
the hard way, making decisions when you have emotions, and you pay
everything I've ever bought. Everything I've ever bought that I bought, what do they call it? Impulse buying. When you walk up to a register, that counter's full of things called impulse. Impulse is for impulsive buying. It's to play tricks. It's why they put the lottery gambling stuff right in your face when you go to pay for it. It's all there for science. And if anyone is trying to sell you something, right, they have more to gain than you do. If anyone tries to guilt you into something for any reason, if they try to make you feel negative or happy or sad, run. Run. I don't give a fuck if I'm talking about my kids trying to talk me into something, or my best friend, or my wife, or business partner. If they try to pressure me into anything and evoke some kind of emotion, if they're anything other than, well, this is what I think, if you're interested, let me know. If that's not who you are, I run, because you have more to gain than I do. You're here to take,
Yep.
So I think it's funny when I see people get conned. I'm not upset at the con man. I'm not upset at anybody. If I get conned, that's my fault. That was an opportunity to say, oh, it was my greed that got me. You know, I let my ego convince. I knew better. My gut said no. Listen to your fucking gut. Your gut is telling you everything. It's making you feel something. Matter of fact, your gut is so far superior to your conscious thought. We're like mud. We're so we can't process information the way our body can, and it just that instinct knows, and it's been measured to be. You got to trust your instinct. You feel something, run. Don't matter if you're talking about relationships, buying a car, buying a house,
Buying that timeshare.
especially that. Yeah.
That's what got me.
Yeah,
Timeshare.
I like using the timeshare as the don't trust your emotions because even because they play on your time, they play on your emotions. It's a fucking art, to be honest with you. I mean, even people that are motivational speakers, people tell me I don't do any motivating speaking, but and I don't get too excited on here. But boy, when I get fucking fired up and I get passionate about something, people are like, oh, you should be a motivational speaker. And because I am very passionate, I get excited, my blood pressure goes up, and it excites a room. It's exciting to be around someone that is excited and passionate about life. But it's also a dangerous thing. So I wouldn't want to be a motivational speaker. I don't necessarily, I'm not convinced that it's actually good. It gives people moments of this heightened sense of, maybe it can save you from killing yourself one time, or, maybe it can get you on the right track. But I'm not certain that if you have to keep listening to motivational things, something else is going on in your life, So I'm not convinced that these people are even healthy. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying I don't know. So anytime you have to play on emotions to get something, I kind of get nervous. I'm a little leery.
So let's go back to controlling worrying.
Yeah.
So we've been
Controlling worry.
How can we control?
I don't.
We talked about you take a deep breath.
Smack yourself in the face. Whatever. Focus. It requires focus, and I think it would be focusing on something, not another thought, right? Because that thought slips away, and you're right back in it again. When I had a hard time sleeping, I was going through a lot, and I'd practice my breathing, and I'd break out of it, and then I'd try to think about something beautiful or interesting, and before I knew it, I'm realizing, oh shit, I'm back in that thought again. It's a very tricky thing. It's very sneaky, but then you have to break it again. And I remember I went to YouTube and was listening to these. What is it where you get hypnotized? I'm not really someone that could be hypnotized easily.
I don't think that will work on me. I don't even know how it works.
I think you would have to want to be hypnotized. I think you would have to surrender to it. And I don't believe for 1 second it's the type where you could make them do crazy shit on stages. I think it's I think music can be hypnotizing, right? And to take you out of your thought process, right? And maybe get you to dream or whatever. But I was listening to these hypnotizing videos on YouTube, and they were actually to help you sleep. And man, there's some people out there with some incredible voices. Their voices are hypnotizing. Listen to the sound of my voice, right? But their voices were so seductive, and they had this incredible music behind it. And it's hard to describe. It's almost like a Pink Floyd song if you're willing to give it up to. I was getting Brennan today. I was listening to. I just wanted to distract myself today, and I was listening to "Shine On You Crazy Diamond." I think is the name of the song, or "Shiny Diamond." "Shine On You Crazy." It's like a 25-minute song, and the first 10 minutes is just the most unbelievable chord. What would it be? Classical sound. Anyways, it's absolutely gorgeous. And I just kind of closed my eyes and drifted off. And it was almost like you were able to see things. You was able to see the music and colors and visualizing this orchestra. And then I was so excited. I thought, man, I got to get my kids listening to Pink Floyd. I mean, this is some of the most life-changing music in my life. My dad was always playing Pink Floyd, so it just influenced me as a baby. I brought him down. I said, Brennan, listen to this music. Just close your eyes. I'm not going to tell you what it is. And try to listen to 5 minutes. And I shut the door, and I'm so excited. My kid's going to get, he's 17, right? it just seems like he would be the perfect candidate to want to embrace Pink Floyd. And 3-4 minutes in, I see the chair moving, and I was like, hey, what do you think? He was like, kind of boring. I mean, it's not really my thing. And I thought, oh, it was so heartbreaking. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to have to start playing Pink Floyd albums all day long. You walk in the house, and it's going to be just The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon. And anyways, it was just the music. I said all that to say that I think that type of music, well, music is very meditative. Like, if I'm pissed off, I can ride around the back roads and listen to some angry music. And boy, you can get a lot of energy out. You know, I was stressed out the other day, and I found the most hardcore heavy metal I could find. Man, I come home and I was kind of exhausted, but I knocked out my work. I couldn't do this project, but it helped. You know, that's why I say we don't get to choose how we feel. We choose how long we feel that way. And if I'm sad, I got some playlists that keep you sad for days.
Oh, I know this. You got any happy music?
Yeah.
No, this is all I got.
Wow, and my music is like engineered to mess with you. Like I got these playlists. You know, one's called "Take the Long Way Home." I've been building it for years, and it's designed to make you emotional. I use it to help me create, to where I can feel something. And it's really hard to be creative if you don't feel. That's where feelings are so important. And so I got a playlist called "Take the Long Way Home." If you hit play, and I'm always re-engineering it and messing with it, but I try to take you on a cycle, right? And if you're, it's really kind of affected a lot of people, especially if you ever get to the state of mind that you can start embracing it. So you got to be ready for it when you hit play. You're like, somebody's got to be, have a buzz, that helps, or sad or whatever. But once you get into it, so it takes you up and it brings you down, right? And it makes you feel something, but then it brings you right back up. I'm happy again. So it's an emotional roller coaster. And I did it to manipulate my own emotions, to make me happy, to make me feel sad and somber, but not necessarily sadness, but feel lost, to make me feel lost, to make me feel lonely. But through that, my imagination would start to explode with possibilities and ideas, and that's when it would just prime my brain for creative thoughts. And man, it worked great.
Oh, I remembered.
I've played it for you.
You played it. Well, you didn't play that one. I think you played different tracks.
I've got happier ones. One playlist is called Happy, but there's sad songs in there, so it's predominantly happy songs. But then there's a somber one, right? Just because it's something. It's about manipulating emotion. That's when I've learned a lot about psychology and how vulnerable human beings are to our emotions. We're slaves to our emotions, and it's really easy to take advantage of people. And I've understood the danger of messing with people. Like it's something you shouldn't take lightly. But basically, when I figured out I could manipulate my own emotions by creating a playlist, and I knew what it was going to do, it was kind of crazy to me when I realized how susceptible humans are. I don't want to call us weak, because we're beautiful things. Like, it's where our power comes from, is our weaknesses, But it's about recognizing those things. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's amazing what you can tell someone and get away with. Right? It's just it's unbelievable the things you can say and get away with it. It's absolutely mind blowing.
Like what? Give me an example.
Yeah, like I could tell you that I wanted to manipulate you in a way to I don't know if it would work on you so much because we're not like married or, we're not together every day. But you could say things like, well, I'm going to ignore you because, I have nothing emotion. I am not willing to invest any emotion in you at all. Right. I have nothing to offer you physically, emotionally, nothing. And it could be because I'm unhappy with the way you're acting. And basically, what people do is, this is what people do. When I'm hurt, I withdraw, right? I withdraw my emotion from you. If you've hurt me, I restrict you from my happiness, right? I withdraw that. I want to pull that away, and I become distant, right? That's what everybody does in every relationship. That's your first go-to. That's the thing that protects you. But you could tell them, you've hurt me, and I have nothing to offer you. I have nothing nice to say. I have nothing to say at all, matter of fact. Don't say anything mean, because it's very... as long as I'm mad and yelling at you, you know I still care, right? There's no... Like as long as somebody's yelling at you, you're fine. You got nothing to worry about. But the moment they look at you and say, nope, I'm done, is the moment you go, oh, shit. Right? So it's really easy to trick somebody. So, and then spend an hour being distant. Don't be mean. That's weak. Like as long as you're being mean, you're losing. No, respecting yourself enough to say, I have nothing to give you. It is fucked up how weak humans are, that when we can't have something, we will do anything. It's fucked up, because it's almost like... that's where we're kind of shallow. When we were just told that they're going to ignore us, so I know that logically, but now I feel like now I feel something. I feel rejection, right? And I didn't choose that. My body chose that for me. It's wild how easy it is to manipulate somebody. It's fascinating, and you could tell them I'm about to manipulate you. Give it a couple hours, and they start saying, come on now, quit playing. It's really wild. Like, and I'm not saying I do that on people. I'm saying it happens every fucking day in all kinds of conversations. I just started realizing the patterns, and I started realizing, oh, you can actually tell someone you're going to withdraw, right, and cut them off sexually. It's like, well, I'm not giving you anything else. The moment you say that, they want it. I mean, it could be an hour, it could be a day, a week, whatever, but it works really. It don't take that long. Usually hours. It's pretty powerful. Yeah, it's I don't know if we want to get into all the secrets of manipulating people, but that's what we're doing anyways. That's what all humans are doing. You don't do anything for someone else. You're doing it for yourself. You just haven't admitted it, or at least you haven't realized it yet. You're doing it for to manipulate. It's what do you do when you make dough? You manipulate the dough. Right? It's not necessarily a bad thing. You're turning it into something new, a pizza, bread. So the word manipulate has a negative connotation, a negative whatever.
It's a negative word.
It sounds negative, but the reality is that's what's happening. Whether you're willing to admit it or not, I do for you in the hopes that you do for me, period. And that's it. And I think that's okay. I think it's important. It's what's made the world go round. It's okay. I just think it's really cool if you understand it and you understand why you're doing the things you are, because you hope, I'd say this all the time, we love to be loved. I'm not saying, oh, we love to love, we love to be loved. No, that's the reason why we love, in the hopes that we are loved. But then you see people in these relationships that spend all their time giving, and never receiving. They finally get fed up and go on, Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, a relationship is a two-way street. It's not a one-way street.
Yeah, but the secret is, as soon as you don't feel that reciprocated, okay, see ya. You know what I'm saying? Okay, there's two reasons why we do anything. Two reasons. Validational and transactional. Do you know the difference?
To validate and
well, we do everything to feel validation. Like, we do nice things in the hopes that you smile and you appreciate it. Therefore, I feel validated. But let's say I'm helping you on your Jeep right now. Let's say I give you a bill at the end of it. Do you think I'm going to feel validation? No, that's transactional, and there's no emotional. So when it comes to validational, I think that we are exchanging emotions. Mm-hmm. That's how we're paying for it. And if I help you on your Jeep and I give you a bill at the end of the day, there's no emotional transaction.
Yeah, correct.
Right? It's a financial transaction, so I feel nothing. If I give you a good deal, then you could feel validated. You could feel good. So let's like this. If I come over and mow your grass and I don't charge you, you're like, wow, man, thank you so much. That's validational. If I come over and mow your grass and charge you, that's transactional. No one felt anything. There was no emotional transaction. We go about our day, and that's fine too. But in a relationship, things should not be transactional. Like, honey, I'll mow the grass if you'll do this, or honey, I'll wash the dishes 14 times, and I see these marriages and relationships where people are keeping score, right? to get sexual favors, and I think that's all transactional. You might as well just be paying for prostitution. I mean, that's all you're doing. Like if you're and there's nothing taboo about sexual favors. Like it's just marriage and it's life and it's love. And if people are embarrassed about it, well, this definitely ain't the place for them. But and I'm not going to get graphic, but if it's transactional in any way, that's not something's really lacking in the relationship. Like you should be doing it to make someone feel good, right?
Yeah, I mean, you should also,
because you're hoping
do it
that,
to feel good without
but you're
a payment regardless.
Exactly. Well, that's the secret. That's the manipulation. See, if you just do it with no expectation, right? Whatever the sexual favor is, massage, foot rub, whatever, you do it again. You don't get nothing back. Fuck off. Quit doing it. Right? Matter of fact, withdraw all your sexual attention, right? They get nothing but non-sexual attention after that. You know, you got to withdraw.
Well, now that sometimes our expectations fails us too.
So well, you should have no expectations ever.
Correct. If you go in, we have no expectations, you're good.
Expectations are setting you up for disappointment every time.
Yeah,
and
because I have told that
expectations is what causes resentment, right? Because when I expect something, I may guilt you in to doing it for me. I did it for you 3 times, right? It's time I get some repayment. You should do it for me. I'll do it because you guilted me, but now I will resent you for it because I felt you were weak. Consciously, this is not happening. Subconsciously, my instinct is saying something's off. And over time, it will diminish the friendship, relationship, partnership, the ships. Jump ship. Don't be afraid to jump ship. If somebody doesn't want to do it for you, you don't deserve it. You haven't earned it. You know? And I believe that with my whole heart. You don't deserve it because you're weak and you stay when you should jump ship. Well, see ya. See you next week. So restrict, withdraw your attention, right? Withdraw your attention from them and make them earn it. That's why I'm saying you could easily say, well, I'm not mad. You just don't feel the same way about me that I feel about you. And that's my fault. It's my fault because maybe I don't have enough self-respect to walk out the door, not in anger, but because people need space. You know, sometimes people need a little distance. It's really important that if someone is distant from you, that you generate more distance. Obviously, if they went distant from you, don't close the gap. Have enough self-respect for yourself to say, no, they need some time, right? But what we do is we get desperate because we have a lack of self-respect and we go say, what's wrong? Is there anything I can do? Why are you acting like this? Well, that's weakness. That's desperation. And it's very hard to be sexually attracted or emotionally attracted at all to someone that is bugging you when all you want is an hour of quiet time, right? And it probably had nothing to do with you. But because you have such a lack of self-respect that you can't just leave them alone. Maybe it's their mom. Maybe it's, maybe it's something personal. Maybe it's something from their past. But because we're so desperate, we can't just let them have time. So what we do is every time we try to close that gap, they get further away. And you become more desperate, they get further away. And that's what we do wrong every time. And I always say it's a lack of self-respect, that you can't just let somebody be. And so what happens is you keep doing that over and over. Over time, you guilt people into things over and over. You keep getting your way. You keep getting her back or she keeps getting you back because you guilt each other. Well, that builds up a tremendous amount of resentment. And when the resentment gets so high, it's hard to feel anything for anyone. You only stay because you're scared of them finding someone new, or you're scared that you won't find someone new. It's the same reason we don't quit jobs, because we're nervous. I fear the future. And it's just a tremendous lack of self-respect. But man, it's really easy to fix these relationships, all of them, if you can just, matter of fact, if somebody gets distant, trick yourself and say, double the distance. Don't be mean, because that's desperate. Don't be rude, that's desperate. If I don't want to be around you, that's your fault, right? We go through life telling our kids, honey, if they don't want to be with you, that's on them. No, bitch. That's on your kid, because why is he or she trying to be involved in a group that doesn't want them. Why not have enough self-respect to
We
say,
always want what we can't have.
yeah, but we also teach our children that it's not our fault. We teach our children to blame other people for not accepting us. But maybe we're not a good fit. But by being upset because someone doesn't accept you in life is the most desperate action, in my opinion. And look, by the way, these are all my opinions. I'm not saying this is fact. These are things that I've discovered for myself. But I see it as what's actually happening, and then I was like, oh, shit. We have a lack of self-respect. So these are my philosophies that I've discovered, but I see that's what's happening. And I realized, oh, it's really easy to correct it. If somebody doesn't want to be around you, don't try to put yourself in there. Why would you want to be involved with somebody? Like, how desperate are you as a person that you can't find someone else to hang out with, that you seek their attention, right? But what is attractive is being independent and having a high degree of self-respect is very attractive. Emotionally, physically, we are drawn to people that don't need us. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That is the most attractive thing in the world, is people that don't need us. So if you're ever finding yourself in a situation to where a friend, spouse needs a little space, be respectful to yourself. Give it to them. Don't guilt them by saying, fine, right? That's a bitch, right? That's reacting. Respond by saying, okay, yeah, that's fine. No, I understand. We all, have our moments. Just holler at me if you need me.
That's exactly what I do.
It's that simple.
Yeah. You okay?
Because the next thing
good?
is, the moment you start acting a little distant, they say, oh, where'd he go? Where'd she go?
Or you're right. A lot of times, we just need our own little space for 5-10 minutes. Whatever
Everybody,
it is.
male and female.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's so I learned to that. I figure if there's really something going on, it doesn't matter what you need. You're gonna tell me.
Yeah.
So if I haven't seen you in a while, Nathan, you okay?
And if they don't, that's okay too. If they don't tell you. This is the thing, though. I don't think that you're not supposed to feel these things. I keep saying what we feel is out of our control, but how we react to it or our actions afterwards is in our control. So if I feel a little nervous, like, where's she at? What's she doing? I'm going to text her.
But I think it goes back to worrying.
Well, it goes back to worrying because of lack of self-respect and that cycle. Actually, okay, so like, you're right. See, this is where the tricks come in. I mean, obviously there's an imbalance. If you're having this worry over something as insignificant as your spouse or friend or whatever not calling you back on time, something imbalanced in your life. Something else is going on. And maybe it's just a lack of self-respect. That may be the imbalance, which means you don't have enough going on in your life. Right? You don't understand your own value. You don't know what you're providing to the relationship. And that's on you, not them. It's not their responsibility to fix your life. But I guess you were just saying something that triggered something in me that I was wanting to say. Anyways, I'm sorry. What was you saying?
No, I was just saying that it goes back to having confidence to yourself enough to...
You got me. I'm back.
Confident enough for you to go, honey, you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Maybe not even ask.
I mean,
don't have to, but I understand. Accept whatever the answer is.
In a relationship is different.
Yeah, it's okay.
Because you learn your wife, your girlfriend, your partner, whatever it is, you learn how their attitude act. Yep. You know when there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. And my thing is, I go, babe, you okay? Everything good? She goes, yeah, I'm fine. All right. I'm going to go watch TV in the living room if you need me. Okay.
But be honest. I mean, how many times did you feel insecure? I mean, I feel insecure. It happens not regularly, but it's happened to me like, oh, maybe she's getting bored with me. I mean, that ain't the question I asked, but that's like this instinct. I'm not saying that happens to me. I'm saying I think it happens to everyone at some point. Maybe the relationship's on fire right now, but there's been moments in every relationship that you're uncertain, right? You're uncertain. You're not sure. And those are the moments where it's critical, right? If you're finding yourself in that negative feedback loop, right, and you're feeling a little desperate, those are the moments you really need to double the distance, right? Those are the moments,
I don't get those thoughts. What I get is,
have you ever had them in life? You've never felt weak, desperate?
Yeah, sometimes, but everyone has. I'm just saying recently. Yeah, everybody
uncertain, unsure.
Mine is usually, what did I do wrong? Or
Really?
What did I mess up?
I gotta process that. What did I do wrong? That is a very narcissistic statement.
I mean, like in a
Maybe
relationship.
it's not, but it could be. That almost feels like you are the center of everyone's universe, and it's like it's why children feel responsible for parents getting divorced, because they're so narcissistic that they think they were the reason why. You know, but as somebody said the other day, it's like even what time's the sun go down when I go to bed? In their mind, they think the sun goes down because, in a child's mind, because they went to bed. Very narcissistic way to think. To think you're that important is what I'm trying to say by narcissism.
Yeah, I just think of, I'm just speaking from.
I know what you're saying.
I'm like, did I did something wrong?
Yeah, if I didn't, I'm good.
I think about it for 30 seconds. Nope, I'm good.
I think what I'm trying to talk about is the things where people are losing their foothold in a relationship, where they're desperate and they're trying to hang on to their husband or their wife or even their child, or it's desperate people push people away because it's very unattractive. And when I mean attractive, I ain't saying sexually, I'm saying emotionally. It's hard to be around people that are needy, clingy, desperate motherfuckers. Look, man, you got something going on in your life. You need to go fix that shit, because I can't see you any other way than weak, right? And I'm not consciously thinking that. It's just that emotion, why you feel repelled. Like you're feeling repelled. Well, there's a reason. It's because you're being sought after. Like, we don't like desperate people. Or I can say this: confident people don't like to be around desperate people. If you like to hold people down around you, you're a very desperate person.
Also, if you're happy, you don't want to be around negative people.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the big one. I think that's where people overlook. If you're the type that brings people down around you in any kind of way, emotionally, physically, you're a very desperate, weak, beta-minded person. You take more in life than you produce. You're a consumer, and you're really bad for this whole ecosystem we call humanity and civilization. If you're not trying to literally encourage people, no, go ahead. That's fine. Good luck. I wish you well. Mwah. Then you're negative. It's not good. Anyways, that's what I think. I just think that confident people don't like weakness. And confident people, I don't think, see, I talk about this. Confident people are like, what's the difference? I may have brought this up around you. What's the difference between cocky and confident?
Yeah, you did bring that up.
Cocky is, I want you to believe, beta. Confident is, I believe, alpha, right? Now, I like to use beta and alpha in that term because people, I think the terminology has been misused. Or I don't even know if it's an idea, a concept of, I think that's how you measure confidence is a good way to say it is beta alpha. It's cocky is, I need you to believe, and confident is, no, I believe. I'm cool with that. Good luck. But we say, oh, they're confident. No, that's cocky. It's real hard. Yeah. And if you're not confident, it may be hard for you to recognize the difference. My whole life, I thought I was a cocky dude, right? I was very cocky. And looking back, I was just very beta-minded. I was desperate for your attention. I was desperate for you to see me, and had a very low self-worth, right? And it's taken my whole life to kind of build that. It's something you should practice for the rest of your life. And if anybody thinks they're an alpha, they're a fucking fool. Maybe you lean that way in certain things, but you're not that way in everything.
Yeah, I don't think we can be alpha at everything.
No, you could be an alpha in the ring and a beta in the bed. That happens more often than you know.
I think it goes back to being happy, being low. We got to have both to balance.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I could say that. Yeah, balance. And I think the thing about alpha and beta is it's a state of mind. It's not who you are as a person. It's what you believe right now. And what you believe and how firmly you believe it is where you rank somewhere on that scale of alpha beta. And if you lose yourself, right, and you're uncertain, I think you could measure uncertainty as leaning beta. I'm not sure, right? It's not a very confident position to be in. It's scary. You're very vulnerable, right? You're vulnerable to people's opinion, right, and your circumstances. And, man, you can lose it like that. You can get dumped. And you go from what, to, oh, shit. And then you got to rebuild that shit, your self-confidence, your self-worth, and it takes fucking time. But it's just, and I ain't saying I got it all figured out. I'm saying I'm trying to understand it. And that's why I like talking about this. It's fascinating to me, to kind of understand what it is that makes me tick. Why do I do this? Why do I feel this way? And there's a little bullshitting about it, but it's made me a happier person, much more complete. That's why I think I'm at the point that I'm not ready to die. Don't get me wrong. It'd kind of suck. But if I was watching this movie, it was a terrible movie, but what is it where they go underground, the core? They go under to save the earth and restart the earth. And I thought,
it's called the core.
Yeah, when I was growing up, you would want to do that because, you're reckless when you're a kid and you don't think anything can kill you. Well, that's the difference. I was ignorant. I drove like a moron because I had this idea, I was taught that everything's in God's hand, right? Everything's in God's hand, and if he wills it, or whatever the speech was that they gave me. So I took it serious. I was like, if I'm going to die, it's going to happen. I ain't got nothing to do with it. So I had this false sense of reality that, oh shit, it's all out of my hands. So I can do all this dumb stuff and I have nothing to fear. And I literally convinced myself my recklessness came from from ignorance. I thought it was all in God's hands, right? And that I was only going to die when he decided to kill me. And then I started realizing, oh shit, hold on.
It is. Everything is in God's hand.
Yeah, but
he also gave you a brain.
Yeah, I know.
For you to process
that's the trade-off.
And that's the thing we don't.
Well, they say nothing happens without God's permission or whatever, and I started thinking. Anyways, I went through life, and then I was like in a moment. I said, "Oh shit, I don't think there's a God." Like like I had these I would never share this with people because when I was younger, because I was to think. To question whether or not there's a God, well, that's forbidden, right? And so you're not supposed to think about these things. And I was questioning things that just didn't make sense to me as a young child. Like all these things these preachers and people was telling me, I started thinking, I think they're full of shit. Because when I'd ask a question, when I'd say, well, why? Well, I don't know. You just got to have faith. I was like, what? I mean, I remember being young thinking, oh, okay. And I accepted that for a long time. But then I started growing up and I started thinking, faith is easy. Just to accept something and not question it is insane to me. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I just started thinking, well, if there is a God, he created this brain, and this brain says, why? And I'm not going to feel guilty for questioning the things that you told me. Because somebody told you and somebody told them, you're regurgitating some shit that somebody told you. It's not necessarily something you believe. You don't have a whole lot of conviction when you say it. And that's what I think about conviction. Conviction is, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. Not, I need you to believe. And that's powerful. And a lot of people go through life believing, truly thinking they believe, but they're not willing to question it. Right? Well, no. Well, then I think you're lacking conviction if you're not willing to question the things that just don't quite make sense. I remember reading Genesis like 10 years ago, and I thought, none of this makes sense to me. From a logical standpoint, none of this makes sense. Like, I cannot accept this. This is from logic, it made absolutely no sense. But then I started researching dimethyltryptamine, DMT, psychedelics, and stuff like that. Not to try to do them, but I'm fascinated with so science. My friend said the other night, science is measuring repeatable phenomenon, and so through science, I started researching, the human body and death and all these experiences people had, and cellular memory. And these are fascinating topics. Each one we could stop and spend the rest of our life on. But dimethyltryptamine it grows on. I mean, it's the shit that's on a poisonous frog, right? And they can wipe it on a glass and let it dry, and they scrape it off, and you can smoke it. That's DMT. Or it's in a lot of plants produce DMT, and the only way you can really consume it, one of two ways, is to inhale it, or you can drink it by breaking it down a certain way, and then that's called ayahuasca, which is like this 8-hour high that these shaman did. It was a very religious drug. The fascinating thing about it was everyone has the same experience to the degree to no one knows how to explain what they've seen. It's like interdimensional. would be and I've never done it. I only research these neuroscientists. I've researched so many people. These are not drugs that you would do for fun. People do. It's for self-discovery. That's what you would do it for. And so these religious figures, it was a way for them to tap into another, to meet God, to talk to God, to access God. There's a theory going out that Moses, the burning bush, that area, supposedly the bark produces DMT. And so if he was next to a burning bush, he could have been high on DMT like a mother, right? And that's how he met God, read the 10 Commandments. And so what I'm saying is, this has nothing to do with, well, maybe it does. Well, maybe I'll come back to it. But everyone's seen the same thing. They came back and tried to describe the same thing. The problem is, the human species does not have a vocabulary to articulate what they've seen. So they would describe it like, well, it'd be like an elf or an angel. And then I actually got to meet God, but God wasn't this thing. It was he, and they said it was like a male presence, and he was everything. It was a warm, male, masculine thing. And it was fascinating to me that all these different races experience the same thing. And then people in dying, they all describe the same thing. The light, being able to see the room, like, okay, look, this is measurable. Like, this is repeating phenomenon. And I started thinking about the Bible. And then with the way they talk about mansions and streets of gold and the way Genesis was written, I thought, oh, shoot, man. This is written from man's experiences, what mankind knows. Maybe man cannot articulate what heaven really looks like. So he described it as imagine streets of gold. Well, it's better than that. Right. So we think we're going to go to this other planet is what it's kind of like pitched to me, growing up. It's like heaven's this cloud, 3 degrees, 3 levels above earth. And it's this cloud and it's limited and there's streets of gold. And it's like somebody got to peek behind the curtain and it was infinitely more complicated than a human's brain could ever come back and say, okay, it's this. Like, there's no words to describe it. They describe it as if Jesus Christ walked in the room, and you're like, yeah, that's not even weird. Let me tell you what's really weird, right? Or like an alien spaceship landed in your front yard. That would seem as normal. Like, that is way more believable. Imagine that. An alien spaceship land in your front yard right now. If you could just think of the hypothetical. And then you come back and say, no, that's nothing. Let me tell you what it was really like. So that's when I started thinking about the Bible in a different way, and I started kind of getting faith back. And I was thinking, oh gosh, through science, I think I believe there's a God. But I don't think of him as this guy sitting on a golden throne and pointing and telling, and you know what I mean? I don't think of it that way. I don't know what it is. I think that if any one religion is right, we're all screwed. But what's fascinating is all the religions kind of worship the same thing. Like, if you really think about it, then mankind comes inside and really messes up a good thing, manipulates for his own good. Joseph, I don't want to offend any religion, so I don't want to say anything. But there's a lot of religions that were very manipulated to. But that's a man thing. I think of God as this. I think. Anyways, it gave me hope that there's an afterlife. And everything would be connected, and I see it all as possible energy. And I'm not saying I got it all figured out, and I'm kind of skimming the surface because I didn't mean to go down this path. I didn't want to talk about this. If I did, it would be dedicated to a whole thing. But I can tell you this, it brought me back to being okay with dying. And it makes me feel like that would be a way better experience. But I haven't done DMT. I've never done any drugs in my life. But someday I imagine that I'm going to try DMT. But I'm nervous. I like who I am right now, and you don't come back as the same person. As a matter of fact, they call it the ego killer. Like, people, it changes your life forever if you do it for the right reasons. If you're doing it to get high, you're making a mistake. But imagine thinking you get to meet God in some level, But then all of it. Oh God, I got to shut up because what you're realizing is it's actually in your mind, and it started telling me we have a hive mind. We just don't realize it. Like, we're all connected. All this information is downloaded from, that's what the purpose of, I was trying to imagine the purpose of why we do all the things we do. It's all, I don't want to get into it. No, that's a whole nother thing. So my formula is why, what, and how. And the why, I kept going with it for years. And it's actually what brought me back to, oh shit, there's a God, you know, and I got really excited about it.
So see, look, all the conversation, we had nothing to talk about.
Oh, I know.
Like we got. So now we can talk about this drug that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We can also.
By the way, supposedly we produce DMT in our liver, and it may be that thing that center eye. What do they call that middle eye? It may be the thing that dreams and like vision, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. It may be something on that. But by the way, DMT trips only supposedly last like 10 minutes if you actually do it. But then ayahuasca, that lasts like 8 hours. That's where these shaman, and you're awake. You're awake when you do it, but everybody sees the same thing. How do you explain that? How does everybody see the exact same thing? Like, it told me, I don't believe it's bullshit because it's repeatable phenomenon. It's science at this point. It's been documented too many times, and that's why I started researching about this doctor that's been documenting deaths. And someone's discovered that the human brain, it takes days and possibly weeks for the human brain to actually shut down. Plenty of people have died on the table for 10 minutes, but the brain's still going. The body's dead, but the brain is still, thoughts still happening, and they see themselves, and they hear the whole conversation. It's fascinating stuff that's going on. But anyways, there's a lot. He's been documenting all these cases, and this doctor, a lot of people believe that there's an afterlife, but there's a lot of really cool studies going on that science is, you know, kind of proving. I think that science, the beauty of science, it kind of proves religion in a lot of ways. And no, I'm not a religious person. I don't really believe in any kind of man-made religion, you know. I believe in the 10 Commandments. Ain't that enough? You know what I'm saying? Everybody's created all these damn rules. I was told I couldn't go to movie theaters and wear shorts and all this other stuff. And I thought, man, he went so far as in documenting these 10 rules and a piece of stone. Thou shalt not do these 10 things. The rest is man-made. Shut up. Do those rules apply to these 10? No, shut up. I think if you follow those 10 rules, it's just a guide to do the right thing. And I don't give a shit if you're religious or not. Those are beautiful rules, and every society has basically accepted those. Wouldn't you agree?
10 rules that, even those 10 rules, we can't follow all 10 rules.
Hell no.
We fail at some point to follow those 10. Just those 10 rules.
I don't know which 10 were. Thou shalt not lie. Maybe that's an easy one. I don't know.
Kill.
I don't remember all. Yeah. It's a pretty. I see them as guardrails on the interstate. Like, you shouldn't go past them, but sometimes we do. You know what I mean? Sometimes we get over them. But hey, it's like a light to kind of get you back on track.
Then we'll pay the consequences afterwards, though. So.
Yeah. No, I don't see any reason that those 10 rules should ever be broken unless it is to protect life, human life. You know what I mean? Would you lie to protect your son? You know what I mean? In a Holocaust situation, yes, you would lie. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't. No, I don't have children. Right? So we got to be, there's some hypotheticals out there. But under normal, everyday circumstances, no reason to ever break any one of them. Unless you're breaking into my house, and that's not, you're going to get dead.
So now we're bending the rules.
Yeah, well, no, it's not bending the rules. I think maybe there could have come, the 10 Commandments should have come with a stipulation, unless it's unusual circumstances, unless you're a victim of an unusual circumstance, right? Which would be anything other than an ordinary. Okay, when another human being has manipulated your free will, like if they're trying to take advantage, I always think about that. Humans have free will. Well, what about the people that took away, the murderers? And I think of these little kids, and anyway, I don't want to get into those. I think about these little kids that horrible people do things to, and I really had a hard time accepting a God that could let these horrifying things happen. And that's when I started to realize, oh no, we're on our own. I should be grateful that God created all this. Let's say there is a God. I'm going to say, yes, there's a God. And I'm just happy that he gave us an opportunity to even exist in all this. And I would rather believe in a God that doesn't pick and choose. He just allows. Hey, you're on your own, right? You know what I mean? Because honestly, the afterlife doesn't sound like a really bad thing, from what I know of it. That's why I was talking about, a DMT trip.
But I mean,
I don't know if I want to go into that because I have a hard time. I get really emotional when I start naming off these names of these kids that I've researched and the horrifying things that these other human beings did to this innocent life. And I say, we turn the channel. That's what people do. We go in denial and we flip the channel. Every time we see this little Somalian kid with a fly coming out of his nose and his stomach's that big and his arms that big around, we click the channel. Send in your $1, right? You justify it. It's funny how we can make these things act as if they don't. I mean, living in America, golly, man.
we're blessed. We're very.
I mean, we're blessed just anybody to be alive, but any first world country, like, I don't want to hear nobody tell me how I should be living until you've given up everything you've got. You know what I mean? You give up everything you got, I'm going to sit and listen. You give up everything to go. There's so many virtuistic people out there, virtue signaling, telling me how I should be living. You know what I mean? Because they want me to respect their, whatever it is they got going, So whatever they found is interesting, like human right. I'm going to stand up for this because everybody's lost, man. Everybody's looking for something to believe in, a core value, and they're against racism and they're against transgender and pronouns and all these things. And I think, man, shut up. You don't even make your damn bed. You try to tell me and a whole planet how to live, like, you know what I'm saying? Look, you give up everything you got. You really believe. Shut up and live it, and then I'm going to listen to you. You may win me over that way. You can't change me. You can inspire me. You want to change someone, you inspire them. That's the only way. You can't talk someone into changing, your spouse, your kid. Shut up. Less talking, more doing. Inspire me, motherfucker. You want me to believe? Go set yourself on fire. Right? Richard Pryor was talking about there was this Buddhist, and he set himself on fire in the middle of the street. I'm fascinated by this guy. I remember seeing the footage. It happened maybe in the 70s, 80s. It was 80s probably. And he was protesting. This Buddhist dude in a robe protested in the middle of the day and like at a 4-lane intersection and poured gasoline on himself. Not crazy. You know what I mean? That sounds crazy. But a normal human being that had no erratic behavior in his whole life, but he believed in something so much, he sacrificed his own life. Not with a gun, not with a pill, not with a rope, on fire. The only way you would not want to die, right? And they say dying in a house fire is not bad at all because the smoke inhalation kills you or knocks you out. You never feel the fire. But bitch, I've been burned. And it sucks. And this guy, this human being, believed in something so much. I wish I could look it up. I can't remember what it was. But he set himself on fire. People talk about Jesus Christ sacrificing himself on a cross, and I don't think that was fun. But he was God. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he felt pain too, but he also had the insight to know that there really is a God, and his daddy was God, and what heaven really was. I'm saying here's a human that just thinks it exists. He believes it exists. He has no connection to the afterlife or, heaven. He is just a man, a human being that poured gasoline on himself in defiance of the things that was happening around him to other human beings and lit a match. I was, wow. Like, I'm not interested in setting myself on fire, but like, hey, man, that guy, that's who we ought to be talking about. Like, that's pretty incredible.
And what made him set on fire?
I think he was against, so there was some things going on with human rights. He was basically a human rights activist is what I believe it was about. And it was pretty fascinating. I learned about it through Richard Pryor because he set himself on fire. Matter of fact, that's why I did it. I remember. So Richard Pryor was high on cocaine or whatever it was, been smoking, whatever it is. I don't know what he was doing, but I think that's what happened. He seen this dude set himself on fire, so Richard Pryor was going to do the same thing. Lit himself on fire and went, Dakota, look that up, see if that's true. Set himself on fire, like, he was high, though. You know what I mean? But that's why I did it. That's actually how I know about it. So then I studied up on it, and I've forgotten it all now. But like, shut up. Just shut up. go set yourself on fire, or dedicate your life to something. You know, I'm more willing to listen to someone that has given up this way of life and sacrificed everything to go help someone. And honestly, we don't want to think about them too much because we start feeling guilty about ourselves. I'll send $50. You know, I'll put money in the offering plate. It's like, who was it? The comedian, Rodney. What's his name? Rodney. Funny as crap, but he goes, every time you bring your wife something, he said, it's like a bag of guilt. Here's a bag of guilt. It's for all the shit I've done. And there's some extra stuff in here for all the stuff I'm going to do later on. But you know what I mean? I can't remember. Is it Rodney something? He was hilarious. But yeah, here, like you said it, we didn't even know what we was going to talk about. We're on a rampage. How long have we been going? You're supposed to give me a timer, Dakota.
Oh, an hour and a half.
Okay, we'll start wrapping up because we did 3 hours and 13 minutes.
Well,
what else you got?
That's all. I mean,
I really like this conversation.
Really,
it's one of my favorites.
From here, I really want to talk. I really would like next time maybe talk about science.
Science, okay. We'll talk about science.
Science. Talk about the Bible.
What kind of sciences? You know, everything.
What we
science.
talked about. Science in the Bible. What we talked about.
Oh, how the science could prove.
Well, because I watched a lot of the shows. Me and my brother watched a lot of the shows on YouTube, online, how science tries to figure out. This is the first time I heard that. Like
measures repeatable phenomenon.
Moses and the burning
bush. Oh, yeah. And I'm not saying people are saying it's true. They're saying it's possible.
You hear so many things. Like yours is the first time I hear that.
Yeah.
But science tries.
And that wasn't science. That was just, I was thinking, you know, when people started connecting all these religions back to DMT, like a lot of these religions got high. A lot of your shaman, these are religious people. We call them shaman because they get high, but honestly, they may be, because it may have been more accepted.
Correct.
You know?
So it's one of those things that I like to have a conversation and see other people's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's nothing wrong with questioning, you know, everything, because all you're trying to do is learn. I'm always fascinated to see other people's opinion. The other thing we talked about was the why.
The why is all that matters.
The why. I really, why everything.
If you ever had if you're trying to fix this, fix that, especially relationship-wise, that's really the main one that matters. Ultimately, everything we do in life is because of the why, the Steinberg triangle. And it's every choice we make, ultimately, I could render back to that. And it's to be in a happy relationship. It really is. I mean, you may not realize it, but every choice you make in life is to be happy, and being happy is affection. It's being loved. It's gratitude. But anyways, that's what we want. That's the why. And then how do you do it? Well, I got that. What exactly do you need to do? I got that too. Here's the problem. None of those matter. How and what are pointless. I can tell you how to do anything, what you need to do and how you need to do it, but none of that matters unless you understand why you have this imbalance to begin with. Until you understand why this is happening to you, the why and the what and the how don't matter. Like I could give you and that's why I've given so much advice, and I see people reading books and getting everybody's looking for the how. How do I need to do it? Well, what am I doing wrong? How do I fix it? And here, this is what you're doing wrong. This is how you fix it. Okay. But it never works. It never registered. It never made sense. Once they understand why this imbalance, and that's what I call it, it's the root cause of every problem is an imbalance. And the question is an imbalance of what? Once you figure that out, that's the why. And then that why could keep going. It could be childhood trauma. It could be a lot of things. But ultimately, we diagnose symptoms. And we settle on symptoms constantly. I see it. It's in the politics, and that's why I'm so fascinated with politics. I'm fascinated with the science of it. And I don't think that it's a man-made thing so much as just something that happens organically once a species, any sort of species, gets to a certain number, then it has to have something to regulate that. And in our case, humans generated... It was just something. I think we just gave it a name. It was a phenomenon, and we gave it a name, the name of politics. And I think that's just happens organically in all, I mean, down to lobsters. I mean, you can study lobsters. I started learning about lobsters through a book, 12 Rules of Life from Jordan Peterson. And you start understanding, oh, no, this is not man-made. This is a phenomenon that happens in life. It's evolution created these, or God, or whatever. And it's pretty interesting. And if you look back, I look at politics now, and I'm like, I don't have a side anymore because I understand the importance of both sides. And I see the farther someone goes to the right, to balance that out, the left goes just as far, or vice versa, right? But eventually, that will collapse, and we will start over back at the middle, and we'll start talking again. Once a catastrophic event happens, a tsunami, a 9/11, or a virus, right? But the virus hasn't been catastrophic. The media sells it as if it has been catastrophic, but as far as history goes, no, it's really unproductive. And if people say, oh, this is a man-made virus, well, they suck because it's not been very effective at all. The only thing that's been effective is the fear that it's invoked into people. And I'm not saying people aren't susceptible to it. I'm saying that if you are, you may ought to make choices, take precautions for yourself. Stop licking toilets if you're looking for Instagram views, and if you're elderly and you have health issues, definitely take your precautions. But the fear has just destabilized everything. But yeah, if it was actually deadly, man, we would all come together and we had agreed. But the reason why we're not agreeing is because nobody sees it happening. We say, no, it's not bad here yet, but it's coming. Really? Well, show me where it's bad. I would love to drive there and say, where's it bad at? And be like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? So it's just comical to me because it's just, people, it's our fault. We buy it. We turn to the channel. We want to hear it. Human beings, if we don't have organic, not even say not organic, we'll call it organic. If you don't have conflict in your life, you will seek it out, right? It's what makes you watch movies. Conflict, climax, resolution. It's a thing inside of us that we seek. We desire it. We have to have it. And that's why we buy negative tabloids. It's why we subscribe to negativity, because it generates that conflict on us. And it's why we watch football. You wonder why football's good, because it's keeping a country from killing itself, right? It's the conflict that we need. I truly believe that's why the Roman Colosseum was built, because things were just too good. No one was at war, right? Rome had conquered everybody. Now they were going to end up destroying themselves from within, because what's happening in America? We're fighting over nothing. It's mind-blowing, right? So there's no real enemy. And humans are just fighters. We're warriors in some way, what we want to be. So you put a couple gladiators on the field. Now we can live vicariously through these two dudes killing themselves. And that's my guy, all right? And you can take millions of people get to live through these athletes. And they generate the conflict. We just seek the emotional experience of that conflict to overcome something. It's what we were designed to do, to find boundaries. It was programmed in our DNA to conquer boundaries, and you know what I mean, to become a dominant species, to survive. We could go into the why. Well, it was to procreate, to become a better version of ourselves, to outlive the next doggone rock that hits this earth. It's just, for me, it's all science, and that's why I'm okay with everything that's going on. It's like, whew, this is crazy, guys. Look what's happening. I feel nothing, because I know it's going to come back. And if it doesn't, it'll collapse, and then it'll come back. You know what I mean? It's like, what can I do?
Worry either way.
Yeah, I bought an RV. That RV's got to get me to the coast. I learned how to sail on Percy Priest Lake, and if it gets bad enough that everybody out here is eating each other, right, and taking each other's shit, I'm going to sneak down to the coast. I'm going to get on my boat, and I'm going to go to some third world country where they've been living like shit forever, right? And I'm going to sit back and just see how long I can survive and keep my family fed. That's worst case scenario to me. But ultimately, I'm not worried about it, because they've been preaching gloom and doom. Man, we just went through the Civil War not too long ago. That was pretty horrific. Family members killing each other. Like, God bless. We've got it pretty good right now.
Yeah. So now we got other things to talk about next show.
Yeah.
We just got to remember.
Yeah, I think this was a really good one. We got to do this more often. I think that's a secret. I think these would be easier if we pick up on some topics. And, do you ever watch it back? Did you watch your show?
Yeah.
Did you learn anything from it, like from yourself? Like, was you kind of surprised by your own points of view?
Yeah.
It's really interesting hearing yourself back. You're like, oh, that's pretty smart. Or I wished I'd have said it this way. And I've learned,
that's. I wish I would have rewarded different. I wish I would have said this that I forgot.
I learned that I don't know when to shut up. That's my bad flaw. But I'm trying. I hope I'm doing better. Anyway, I had so much fun, buddy.
All right,
Thank
brother.
you so much. Episode 10, right?
10.
Awesome. This is.
Thanks,
I
Dakota.
thought my other one was my favorite, but I think this one was genuinely my
Hey,
favorite.
we just
We're
getting better at it.
Yeah.
Practice.
Yeah. Man, I didn't expect us to go into any of those things. I've been kind of hoping, like we barely
I told
touched
you,
on,
I
but
used
those.
to start talking. That's
I
what
can.
you do.
Ooh, we can take any one of those, and I always say that. Oh, we need to stop on one of these. We can. I would love to go into the why and the how and the what, and it's fun for me.
I think for now that me and you have done 2 of them, we can go back and start.
Yeah.
And preparing ourselves better at what we want to talk about.
How often do you want to come on? You want to come on? I don't like to plan shit, but you want to spend more time on here?
Yeah, we'll spend more time here.
You can be my
I think
Tuesday date. Maybe I'll start doing a Tuesday podcast with Freddy.
I think now I can prepare my mind for and how I want to say it and how to say it and what points I want to discuss.
Had a blast. Thank you so
All right.
much. Thanks, Dakota. Woo!